Hey guys, this is CSDX, but you can call me Sean, and honestly, the next video was originally going to be like half editorial, half review on AEW Fight Forever. Now that some more time has passed, that I could probably talk about the game because I'm not too proud of how that video went. But, just the other day, I saw a post come up on my Reddit feed, and, I know that I did already talk about physical versus digital stuff, but you know what? This prompted me to talk more about the stuff that I had cut from that video. That's the habit I need to stop, cutting stuff from videos, that is. Sonic Superstars, baby! Oh, I accidentally hit this thing. Whoop. So Sonic Superstars, at the time of this recording, is coming out next month, and I am hyped enough to have pre-ordered a Switch copy at GameStop. Yeah, I know it's GameStop, I'm sorry. It'll net me the pre-order bonus of Lego Eggman, why? A reversible cover, and an acrylic standee. All very neat bonuses, if I may say so myself. Hey wait, didn't Sega advertise other content such as Mecha Sonic Mach 1 aka Silver Sonic for multiplayer? Not to mention the rabbit skin that... Wait, I thought Sonic was originally going to be a porcupine. So, how do I get them? Well, you gotta buy them via the DLC pack that contains it. Okay, so how much is it going to cost? $70.
Excuse me?
Yeah, despite the Lego pack of all things being billed on the eShop as a separate $5, the quote-unquote extra content pack that contains the goods does not have a price listed for it, implying you need to buy the digital deluxe edition. And yes, that means you lose out on the bonuses for physical pre-orders, minus the Lego Eggman skin. And it was the aforementioned Reddit post that I saw about this that made an interesting point. Sega is... how do I even put this? Sega is super guilty of pulling this stunt with Sonic. It started, I believe, with Sonic Colors Ultimate. Well, actually, I think it started with Sonic Forces, but I didn't account for that in the script, so whatever. It kind of started with Sonic Colors Ultimate, which did have a digital deluxe edition with like exclusive DLC. But to be fair, you could buy those DLC packs separately. Last I checked, anyway. Then Origins happened, and boy, did it! Sonic Origins had a digital deluxe edition that had a pre-order chart that was heavily mocked, and rightfully so. They not only kept certain content such as a wallpaper locked behind the pre-order, and didn't even include it in the Plus content, despite advertising that all DLC was to be included in Origins Plus, but as I had touched upon last time, they locked content behind DLC aptly named the Premium Fun Pack. What was considered fun worth being in a premium package exactly? More backgrounds, extra missions for mission mode, and they had the gall to lock the ability to see characters not be lifeless statues in the menu behind said DLC pack. How in God's name did they get away with that? And then came Sonic Frontiers, which, as much as I love that game, they took it a step further and made sure you couldn't get any of the DLC without buying the digital deluxe edition. Which sucks, especially because I'm a sucker for art books, and, well... guess what is included in said digital deluxe edition, and only said digital deluxe edition? In fact, no. Here's a poll. Here's a poll you can vote on to decide which of these it ended up happening with. Go ahead, I'll wait. You done? Alright, let's see what you voted for. Are you serious? Really? First of all, the correct answer was the digital art book. I literally gave away the answer. Secondly, you chose Anne Hathaway voicing Amy Rose? She's way too good for this franchise. And I can say that because I'm a Sonic fan. It wasn't just an art book, by the way. It was also a mini soundtrack and some collectibles you're able to end up getting sooner to get through the first island faster. And now they're doing it again with Sonic Superstars, and I'm actually torn on which version to really get, even though the stuff in the extra content pack shouldn't matter that much. It wouldn't be that big of an issue if they did it like with Colors Ultimate and had each DLC to be buyable separately, but I guess that didn't net them enough money. In fact, here's the thought. Why don't we have the deluxe edition in physical form exactly? Oh, I forgot to mention why else I'm torn between the two. The digital deluxe edition of Superstars also comes with a digital art book. Because of course it fucking does! Of course, despite all that I said, Sonic is not the only culprit here. Cash Banuka, otherwise known best as Crash Bandicoot, also did dirty deeds, but those deeds are about as good as pissing in cornflakes. Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, aka as the great Categories calls it, Cash Banuka 4 in a Big Tent, promised exclusive skins for the digital versions, and not even a deluxe edition. Just buy it digitally and you get Crash and Coco looking like if they were in the 80s and if gaming hardware were how it were today back then. Yeah, that's pretty much it for Crash, actually. Can't speak for Crash Team Rumble though, I'm not exactly interested in games without a single player mode. Then there's a big culprit of this in Ubisoft, or Ubisoft, I don't even know how it's pronounced anymore, and their gold editions of games, namely Immortals Phoenix Rising and Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Both are honestly great games, don't get me wrong. Granted, I don't know if I'm going to continue Immortals anytime soon, but they each, for whatever reason, have exclusive DLC for these editions only and specifically when bought digitally in the form of the gold edition. So, if you want to change things up and delete the whole game to make room for others now that you have a physical copy, have fun losing that extra content in the form of a mission, you completionist bastard. Truth be told, I'm not sure if it's the case with PlayStation or Xbox, but it ironically enough really hammers home how much Nintendo can and will be against video game preservation of some form. Yes, I know this aged poorly seeing a few remakes or remasters happen, whatever. See, they don't give an option on the Switch to re-download specifically DLC. They let you download the software without the DLC for some weird reason, but not the DLC itself. So if you got a physical copy but want to have the DLC re-downloaded, but there's a specific DLC that, due to how it was marketed, doesn't have an official page of its own like other DLC, you are once again out of luck. Though I did discover something interesting with a very slight annoyance to it. Mind you, this is for anyone who bought the game digitally, only to switch it to physical, but want to access the oddly unlisted DLC in question on the Nintendo Switch only. Step 1. Archive the software, do not delete it. Step 2. Put the cart in the Switch's cart slot. Step 3. Go to update the data while the cart is still in the Switch. This will not only update the game if it needs any update, but also download the DLC. Although if it's like, say, Final Fantasy X and X-2 Remaster, and has no update file needed, it'll just download the DLC on its own. Only real problem, which is not even much of an issue, is that there's no cart icon next to the name and it's the cloud icon instead, and if the game needs an update after this, you gotta manually check it by putting the card in each time. Writing the script made me realize how stupid this all actually is. Hell, I'll say this much, if Sonic Superstars does end up being good enough, and this is only if I have the money, I might as well buy the digital deluxe edition on PS5 and physical on Switch, but the problem with that, at the very least, is that it's still kind of rewarding Sega and other companies for doing this bullcrap. And you know what sucks the most about this? Even if we were to speak with our wallets and just exclusively get physical instead of digital, we're outnumbered 8-2 because of the fact that, interestingly enough, at least according to the last bit of info I looked up, 80% of game purchases are all digital. How are we supposed to compete with that? It also doesn't help that, I'll admit, I'm largely guilty of this on PS5 and Xbox, but that's largely because of the fact that you need to install the game via the discs on those, and it always takes up as much space as the digital version, so it feels like it isn't entirely worth it to get it physically. In fact, apparently, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that's gonna require 2 discs because somehow the game is too big for just 1 disc. I thought the install feature was a thing because the entire game can't fit on a disc already. What the actual hell are you going on about? And apparently, this was a thing with Final Fantasy VII Remake too. I wouldn't know. I bought the digital deluxe edition for the damn cactus, so I guess we're back to square goddamn one. Oh, hang on. According to a few sources, it's a matter of RAM. And probably a few other things. I admit I didn't really read this article yet, but I imagine because of it, well, I'll just say this much. I feel like even after I read it, which I'm going to link in the description below for you guys to check out, I don't know enough as to why or how RAM for physical games is supposed to be different from RAM of digital games, even if it's the same RAM. So I'm going to redact my initial claim about the disc not containing the whole game, but continue the video as is, as I've already recorded the visuals before revising the script for this. Sorry. Is that one song telling the truth about suicide being painless? Okay, you know, I gotta end it on something that's at least somewhat more positive. So I guess we'll end it on limited run games. Look, I did say somewhat more positive. We gotta have something here. At this point in my life, I'm willing to admit limited run games isn't perfect. Hell, I've been waiting for the Doom Eternal Ultimate Edition on Switch for over a year at this point. It also doesn't help that despite the tagline being, quote, forever physical, unquote, the pre-orders are only open for a limited time, hence their name. Hell, you might not have an idea as to how hard it was to give up on the Castlevania Advance Collection Ultimate Edition, as I wanted it not just for the extra stuff, but especially the GBA related stuff like the box and special keychains. The plus side is now with my new second job, I can save up to get it another way. The downside is the another way in question. However, Limited Run Games has shown to gladly publish games that otherwise get delisted for one reason or another, such as Saving Mr. Taco Definitive Edition, a game originally published by Nicalis but got delisted after a dispute with the dev team. Nicalis is also heavily not liked as they also charged $30 for a cave story port that slapped a plus sign on the name but added nothing actually new. They've also got something called the Carbon Engine that allows them to remaster and or port older games, such as the surprising re-release of Shantae of all things from Game Boy Color being put on Switch, PlayStation, and hopefully Xbox and PC in the future. They're also using said engine for Tomba or Tombi and PAL regions, and after Catacrys hyped that game up a lot in the past, I am very happy to see it make a return. Hell, Gex is even getting a remaster. Or a remake. I actually don't know if it was ever specified, really. Ironically, all of these are digital specifically with, again, likely limited releases of physical copies. It was the case with Shantae, I imagine it's the case with others. But the plus side, at the least, is that they care enough about gaming preservation to make sure these games come back in some way on modern platforms. Besides, I imagine the reason the physical copies are limited are due to whatever deals are worked out with the original publishers, as well as, I don't know, licensing fees maybe? Hell, I remember when Bethesda canceled the physical version of Doom Eternal on Switch because they were too cheap to pay for the biggest cart size, which LRG managed to get just fine. I do get why they won't put all of the update data on there though. If I recall correctly, the game is now too big to fit on the biggest size, being, if I'm not mistaken, 32 gigabytes. Mind you, Bethesda got like $7 billion when they were bought by Microsoft. You're telling me you didn't opt to spend a nickel of that on Switch carts? Although in some quick research, Bethesda actually got bought by Microsoft in 2021, whereas the Switch version of Doom Eternal came out in late 2020. So even if they did bother to use some of that $7 billion on physical carts, I don't know how many would have cared about it being that far past the release date. Physical copies of Metroid Prime Remastered and Bayonetta on Switch sold out immediately upon release respectively. In fact, Bayonetta's physical copy came out almost 5 years after its digital launch. Okay, this has gotten way too negative and turned into a rant video. I'm so sorry about that. I did put the warning at the beginning of the video at the very least, as long as I remember to do it anyway. If I don't, sorry. Also, screw you, future me. But I will say this. If you buy almost, if not 100% exclusively physical games, I'm not going to insult you for it. If you buy exclusively digital games, I'm not going to insult you for that either. I honestly don't feel comfortable saying something about which one you should go with or like making people have a different preference or whatever. But I will say this. Hopefully, if there is enough demand for the, say, extra content pack to be purchasable separately from the digital deluxe edition, the digital art book and soundtrack I think should be part of the digital deluxe edition anyway, because it's got to be something at least. Who knows, maybe it could end up like working out and it'll be separately purchasable from it. I'm not going to say it will happen, but if you're going to end up like giving feedback and criticism, wanting it to be part of the game, like separate from the digital deluxe edition, I'm just going to say this. For the love of God, do not harass anyone over any of this. Do not insult anyone over any of this. No, not even the social media accounts, because in all honesty, those are clearly obviously not run by the corporate overlords, whatever you want to call them, corporate CEOs, whatever, that are making these stupid decisions. They are run by people like you and me, especially given the fact that they likely are just as upset and angry about all of this as we are, or I am. I don't want to speak for others in this regard. This is just a video where I am talking about my own viewpoints on it. You're allowed to have different viewpoints for that matter. Just gotta remember that much. In fact, truth be told, I highly doubt that there will ever not be an audience for physical releases. I mean, why do you think limited run games became so popular in the first place? What's that? There are other limited physical release companies that I have not accounted for that are not as popular as limited run? Can I just talk about the one game that was made exclusively physical instead that upset a lot of people, in fact? Wait, there's even more digital exclusive content for Sonic Superstars? And it's region exclusive in Japan? Oh, and adding insult to injury, Nintendo's doing it more logically with the option of different physical pre-order bonuses depending on where you pre-order Super Mario Bros. Wonder Who Was on Drugs to be this much of a creative genius. Okay, I'm a penguin.